I'd like to call the Foster-Glocester Regional School Committee to order. Can I have roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Pezza? Ms. Joyce?
Here.
Mr. Mara?
Here.
Mr. Dupuy?
Here.
Ms. Keeling?
Here.
Ms. Henry?
Here.
Ms. Cook? Ms. Ferreira?
Here.
Mr. Rizzo?
Here.
Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Student and staff recognition.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we honor, celebrate, and congratulate an outstanding employee. The 2024 Next Tech Generation winner, our network administrator, Reese Babington. Congratulations, Reese. What can we say about Reese Babington? For those of you that do not know Reese, he is a brilliant individual that amazes us day after day. Reese is a 2019 graduate of Pontiac High School. He immediately went on to college by attending New England Institute of Technology, where he studied computer networking. Reese obtained his undergraduate degree in the summer of 2022 and then continued to go to classes for his master's degree, which he obtained in May of 2024. While attending New England Tech for his master's, Reese was awarded the highest honors in the program and received the Technology Award from the college. In 2017, the Pontiac Technology Department started an internship program in which Reese applied for. This began his journey into the world of information technology. Reese worked as an intern through December 2021, where he took a much larger internship at FM Global. While Reese worked in the corporate world, he kept in close contact with the Pontiac IT team as two of his very close friends took over for him. In June of 2022, Reese made the decision to leave FM Global and accept a position back at Pontiac as our network administrator. During this time, here as a full-time member of our technology team, Reese has made some major accomplishments. He has reworked our entire region's network to be more efficient, as well as creating a networking monitoring system that keeps track of all 5 buildings throughout Foster and Gloucester. Reese has run presentations on his networking skills to many of his peers in the IT world, including one held here in May of 2024. Reese has been a crucial team member by making the network safe for students and staff, as well as keeping the tech department up to code. Reese is a critical part of our team, and we do not know where we would be without him. Reese will be featured in the December issue of Rhode Island Monthly. Reese, although your outstanding work is always behind the scenes, we hope you know how valued you are. We are incredibly grateful for all your hard work. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 Next Tech Generation winner, Reese Babington.
Congratulations.
Can I take you home?
Great job. Talk you so much. Congrats.
Number 5, approval of meeting minutes
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the open meeting on October 1st, 2024.
is that the one we have to reflect the change?
Yeah. So I just noticed that we didn't, on the minutes, it didn't reflect who was present and who was absent of school committee members. So Kyle's going to make that change, and she'll issue new minutes. So I'll second the motion, but with a...
With the correction
With
of-
correction noted. Is that right, Greg?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session meeting on October 1st, 2024.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Approval of monthly bills.
I make a motion to approve the monthly bills dated October 1st, 2024 to October 31st, 2024, in the amount of $1,304,531.78.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Finance update.
So for the revenue and expenditure report, we're at 35.34% collected for revenues, and expenses were at 20.09%. I just wanted to make a note too on the check detail report. We ran check run last Friday. We won't run another one until the 1st. So this does capture all of the checks for October. I know that was a question at the last meeting. So that reflects all the checks that will be run for the month. The first and second quarter tuition bills were issued this month. We're coming in a little higher than budgeted, and our audit is on target to be completed by the end of the year, most likely the end of November.
Congratulations on that.
And that's a lot of work on Mary's part, too, that she's been helping in the audit, so.
That was just a report, so we don't need a motion, right? Okay.
I
What's
just
next?
had one question, and it's, if I can, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Cindy, can I
of
ask,
course.
Ann a question? And it's probably just because of the way it flows, but on the monthly revenues and expenses for October 2024, there, item 7A, the very bottom, it showed that we're only into the first quarter, but we've spent 53% of dues and fees. Is that just because it all gets paid up front in the beginning of the year, or are we going to be running over what was budgeted?
For dues and fees, I would have to go back and see what expenses are in there. I'm assuming it's a lot of expenses that are paid in the beginning
Yeah.
of the year.
Okay.
That probably fees that start July 1st and run through the year.
So
is my
it's just,
guess.
you know, a note that hopefully we're staying within our budgeted line items, and we're not going to exceed or spend without coming to this committee, I would think, for approval.
I can take a look and see
Yeah,
what's in
thank
that.
you.
Yep.
Next is approval of the committed fund balance for new auditors.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 committed fund balances as presented in the packet.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Approval of budget transfer FY '24.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 budget transfers as presented in the packet.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Good, good. Approval of budget transfers FY '25.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 budget transfers as of September 30th, 2024, as presented in the packet.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The superintendent's report. It's in your packet, number 8. Does anyone have any questions? Aaron?
Again, like I stated before, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Palazzo for taking my recommendation about adding the steps and about what's being replaced, so I do appreciate that as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
In addition to the personnel, this is the second month now. Remember, I'm adding more information for you about curriculum and program updates. And I just want to share that our test scores came out last week RICAS for the middle school and SAT for the high school. We did see, and the state level as well, saw a slight decrease. In math, we saw a slight decrease, our high school ELA scores, I pointed to Amanda, the tremendous amount of work over the years, dropped only 0.5%, which is really, really good because the SAT was a very, very different test. The commissioner has said that this is a baseline for her. So she gave her report, and not that they're excluding previous years, but the SAT has changed dramatically, that this is a baseline for us. And even with the changes in the SAT, our students, because of the good, solid work, only dropped about 0.5% in ELA. We've dropped in math, but we definitely have met and set a plan in place, and some things include a really solid data analysis by grade level and by proficiency. So we're meeting with the high school team and then the middle school team as well to really look at the data that's released to us. Those students who fall in the almost meets proficiency, we're going to take a strong look at them. They'll be easier to move towards proficiency, hopefully, with the right work. Keep in mind, we have a new math curriculum that we're piloting this year with a lot of support, and that has data for us as well, and that's grades 6 through Algebra 2. We have RICAS and SAT released items that will be integrated into the classroom regularly, so sometimes it's just exposure to the questions that students become more familiar with the questions. We are also taking a look at our chronically absent students in comparison to their achievement levels, and that's also state level work, so the commissioner is putting a lot of support for districts, and as you know, you approved Carlene Murray, our AP, did some work over the summer with one of our social workers that we had. I see Brad back there through the school-based mental health grant, and they did a lot of outreach over the summer to pull in some of those students who are chronically absent. We are starting coordination with the elementary schools, and I'm going to give another nod to Amanda. I've had 2 meetings at the elementary level with the curriculum coordinator, and Amanda is going to continue the work, really look at our ELA work and how we can strengthen it. And we're also looking to pull in Isaac Payne as well, because all 3 schools feed our middle school. We are continuing with the science of reading implementation. As you know, that's been a multi-year process, and you approved 3 PD days for us this year, and our first one is coming up November 4th. Amanda put together the agenda for that, which is really focused on the strategies of the science of reading. Really excited about that. It's definitely all content specific, but all contents are included, and we're actually having a separate pull-out meeting with our music teachers for music literacy. So I have to definitely, as she's sitting here, commend the work as principal. You'll see her principal report, but a lot of the work that we're seeing that's strong foundation sits in her expertise in literacy, and that continued effort, and we've seen it in our test scores. And then the other part I want to say is on our PD day, it's focused on vocabulary and active reading strategies, and our teacher assistants will be participating in PD through the Sargent Center. And Brad, again, thank you. Brad had worked to set that up. I want to also loop back and just share with you, again, math and social studies are being piloted curriculum with the hope of purchasing the materials that we have, and we did budget for that. We are required in 25-26 to have an HQM, high quality material curriculum for science, so we're looking at that at the elementary level as well as the middle school and build that up. We will be adding a CTE program spotlight. Brendan, I know you had asked for that each month, and there will be criteria just so you have a better understanding of what those CTE programs look like. And last week, Ann, Alyssa, and I attended a legal conference hosted by the Rhode Island Superintendents Association and the School Business Officers Association. It was a legal institute. A lot of really good information, and the 3 of us being there together was a good opportunity to brainstorm and talk about things. And then last, I want to commend the work at the high school. PHS earned AP, Advanced Placement, Silver recognition. That is huge. There are 3 categories. There's college culture, there's college credit, and there's college optimization. We actually scored gold in two of the categories, college credit and optimization. But you can only score as high as your lowest category, and we were silver in college culture. But just to give you a little bit of an understanding of that, The college culture means that we had over 50% of our students in the graduating class who took an AP exam at any point in high school, regardless of their course. So it's that culture that we're feeding of try an AP course. College credit, we had 36% of our students in the graduating class score 3+ on any AP exam. If they score 3 or above, it's college credit. That's fabulous. And the biggest one, I think, is and it's a low bar because it's not easy to do. So we had 10% of our students, gold category, in the graduating class take 5 or more AP exams in high school, where at least one exam was taken in 9th or 10th grade. So I want to commend the consistent work that we're pushing students to try, and it's definitely reflective on that. I want to shift one more thing and introduce Heather Mergida. Heather is, and I told you I was not going to say that correctly.
Last name is just, you know.
Heather is, you were not able to meet Heather at the last meeting, but Heather is our new school counselor. So I'd like to give Heather a moment to just tell you a little bit about herself. Yes, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Mergida, and I'm very, very, very excited to be part of Pontiac High School in the school counseling department. I've been there for just about a month now, and it has been just a ridiculously warm welcome from all of my new colleagues. My administration. It's just wonderful to be in a school that's well-led and well-run and has just wonderful goals for the students. This is, I think I said, my 27th year of teaching. I was a Spanish teacher for about 23 years, and I switched to school counseling. This is my 4th year in school counseling. So it's been a dream to be in that position, and it's a double dream to be able to be in the school system. It's just been an exciting month for me, getting to know my students. I've been working really hard with our seniors on the caseload. Fall season is that push for college application deadlines. So November 1st is the first big one that's coming up. I've completed 25 college applications so far for my students, and sending lots of emails to remind them that deadlines are coming, to keep meeting with me so that we can keep going through that Common App process. I've also been able to meet with a lot of my juniors and sophomores and a lot of their families as well on the variety of things that we support students with in the counseling office. So I'm looking forward to continuing that work, getting to know my families and my students, and hopefully be a really good guide and a resource for them as, you know, I work with them 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and hopefully set them up beautifully and support them for that future step. And again, just working, it's been a warm welcome in that department. They're really doing some amazing work in the school counseling department. They just applied for RAMP, and they've graciously signed me up so that I can continue learning a little bit more about that, the national guidance or school counseling certificate that they're going for. So I'll start those next month. So it's just been a great opportunity. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've heard great things about you, just so you know.
Heather, what school system were you in prior?
Coventry High School.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Number 9, the transition specialist position. And Heather, you don't have to stay for the rest of this meeting. You can run. Okay.
So I had asked Brad to come in and really lead a presentation about district transition coordinator. He's going to share with you the specifics of the role and the reasons really why we need it. His team is with him, clearly his support. We currently have the position that we share. So I'm going to take a step back and hand it over to you, Brad.
So first of all, thank you for having me here tonight. When Renee asked me to do this, I was like, this is a whole new position. So this is one of those times in education where you're going to see and hear about some acronyms tonight where it's going to be very new to you. But in 10 years from now, it's going to be like commonplace. So this is a really heavy lift as far as like what this position is and what it entails. So I'm going to try to be mindful of all your time and make it as quick as possible. But I wanted to give you enough information that you can make a good informed decision. So again, the position is for a district transition coordinator. There we go. So why now? So I don't know if you remember, probably about 8 years ago, there was the Department of Justice came into Providence, and out of that there was the consent decree, which is in 2023 from the Department of Justice, and a new law was passed. So that new law is going to govern how we handle transition. So that is for students who are in school, transitioning to adult services, transitioning to careers. So currently the need at PHS, it's growing so fast that we don't have the capacity to fill that. So we have somebody working for the Northwest right now who's covering both Situate and Pontiac. And when we get into the hours that it entails and the amount of contacts they need to make, you're going to see why that is a very large lift. This is happening to my reading glasses and my This is an odd setup. And let me introduce them, just so everybody knows who everybody is. So,
Nicole Mayali.
Jen Antonio, life skills teacher here at the high school.
And then Haley Eckman, life
That's what
skills.
they were doing over there.
and Nicole is currently our transition coordinator. Yes. So you'll get a copy of these slides, right, Renee?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, so you can take your time and dive into it a little bit deeper. Just know that out of the consent decree, there is actually a court monitor. Tony Antosh, if you've been around in education for a while, you know that name. He is visiting, and he's already visited Pontiac High School. Was that last year? Yeah, last year. And he will do that again to make sure that we're complying with the laws and regulations. So who gets services? So there's going to be two buckets, right? The first one is the special ed students in that ninth grade will start to receive some services. So the pre-employment transition services are offered by ORS. So Nicole here works very closely with our ORS counselor who comes in. That is attending every IEP meeting for ninth graders. So you can imagine between Situate and Pontiac, that is a lot of students. And then continuing with those IEP meetings going through. One thing that comes out of this is that every student will need a career development plan. So just like in the 70s, IEPs were new, this is going to be the same thing, and it's a large lift. And when they were rolling this out, the special educators across the state were saying, like, you know, we're in charge of the IEPs, and now we're going to be in charge of these career development plans. That is a living plan, so it's always being updated and changing, much like an IEP, and I'd say even more than an IEP. And so, again, it's a very big task to take on. And right now, the special education teachers have been trying to handle it, but with all their other job responsibilities, it's now become what was a tough role to begin with, a very tough role. A lot of paperwork and a lot of updating. Nicole, I don't know if you want to cover kind of.
Sure, the next.
Yeah.
What's on the screen now?
Yeah.
So some of the things that the students in ninth grade, they get introduced to transition their families as well. And we talk about, okay, what's next? And so in 10th grade, they're offered work skill development classes. In 11th grade, job explorations. And then there's paid internships. ORS has a lot of services. But our goal is by the time our students are exiting, they have hours of paid real work, paid internships, a working resume, have done mock interviews, everything work related for this part. That's separate from the CP.
If you notice, the last line there is important because it says about next year. So next year, we're looking to also offer those services to any student with a 504 plan. So really, that's going to be the future. So the future is not only the students who have IEPs, it's also those with 504 plans. And you can imagine in the school, there's some disconnect there because usually, like the special educators, you know, have all of their students lined up and are focused on them. When we add in all the students with 504s, which is a large amount of students in the school as well, again, to have somebody oversee that to make sure it's consistent, that they're staying on top of it. Again, right now, whose role is that? This hasn't existed in the past. And again, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of engagement with families, with employers, with ORS on the tail end. So it's a big lift. Again, part of their jobs, I don't know if you want to.
Sure. So the difference with our CDP students, their families need, and those students need a.
Just again, like one more acronym, the CDP, Career Development Plan, every time you hear
Sorry,
that.
I can
In
probably
in
speak.
2 years, we won't have to stop you, like the
I-
IEP, everybody knows what it means.
I can probably speak in acronyms, but, so our career development plan students, their families and themselves are gonna require a lot of assistance to have this smooth transition into the adult world service. And so some of the things that I do is I actually sit with families, I help fill out adult service applications to include BHDDH, there's another one, and take tours of adult agencies if they're looking for day programs or employment. There used to be only guardianship, right? Now we have supported decision-making, that's something new that includes the student. I'm huge for that. Self-direct, are the parents going to take on the budget, like if they get funding from BHDDH, are they gonna be the bank and hire staff, or are they gonna use an agency? So it goes on and on. What else? Reviewing the reports and helping the wonderful teachers with the wording and things like that for the reports that do go to our regional transition coordinator, who is Teresa Curran. So she's kind of got a ride hat and regional transition hat. She also comes in and collects data. I just had to give her, we are the first quarter, so that's already in. I meet with staff and teachers, but this is, again, it's going to just continue to increase.
Again, the importance of what Nicole said, like again, not only do we have the court-appointed monitor, Tony, we also have Teresa. So Teresa will also come in as our coordinator, our regional transition coordinator.
RTC,
Yeah.
there you go. Is it all?
Another acronym.
Yeah.
We'll come in and pull IEPs and pull files and make sure that we're staying on top of everything. There we go. So this is where we get into like how heavy of a lift it is. And this is definitely where Nicole is the expert at. So again, we're gonna introduce a couple more acronyms.
Yep.
Again, normal a couple of years.
So this is really the bulk of what came out of the DOJ being here for 10 years, having all of these suggestions that then turned into law in June of 2023. And so it's broken down into 3 parts. They are looking at that 14 to 16-year-old student who is, we're charged with discovery phase. So starting the talk of the world of work, having them do in-house experiences, doing assessments, maybe auditing a CTE program or another class, really taking an opportunity to get to know them, their likes, their dislikes, their aptitudes, where we can help them. And that moves into that 17 to 19. And just to let you know, these are all their own CDP. It starts at 14 to 16, and now you move into another one. 17 to 19 is really where there's gonna be a lot of work, because they have to have integrated trial work experiences, ITWEs. For 17 to 19, they are requiring that they have 2 60-day experiences within their career clusters. You're finding out those career clusters during that 14 to 16. That's the point, that's our job, is to pull it out from them, help them discover their likes and dislikes. That's a lot, right? So if you break it down, it's about, what did we say, 40 to 50 experiences every year for 3 years, without missing a day, without holidays, without being sick, in order to do that, by the time that they turn 19, they have to go all the time. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Of course, the most important part. It has to be individualized. It has to be based on what they find interesting, right? It's their interest. So if you have a student in animal care, they want to do animal care, you do 60 days in animal care, in whatever aspect.
And just really quickly, you know, when you think about like what you may know from like years from the past, things like, you know, you'd hear about students going out from the high school and we would take 5 students and we'd go to a farm. That's not individualized.
Can't do that
You can't do that anymore. You might hear about a student maybe going down to Renee's office and working like organizing shelves. It can't be that. It has to be something that leads to paid employment.
And it has to be in the community.
Can I ask a question at this
Sure.
time? What's the transportation piece to this?
Yeah, and so that's really what.
I'll let Renee answer that.
Yeah. Well, we do have.
Well, you can answer it at the end, but I think that's a big component.
It's a huge component. And so we do have that against us compared to schools that have public transportation, because that's a whole nother thing, is travel.
Or schools that are in urban areas. We're in a rural environment. Where do you find these places?
100%.
We're held to the same standard.
100%. So now you're talking travel time too. So you see how it starts to build up. So if you have a student with a very specific interest and it has to be one-on-one, they cannot go out with a counterpart. They have to have a job coach. Some may require an additional support person. We've had to say that we might have to invite the nurse or somebody, because now we're out in the community if you have somebody medically fragile. So they're doing it right now, but it's not right? You can only take one.
Currently, we're working with an agency that provides a person with a car that will help bring people out.
No, we can't do that.
Oh, that's right.
That's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So here, we do have to, I was like, no, we don't do that here. We do have a van. We have a PHS staff that is allowed to drive, and then an additional job coach. But they're 2 to 1. So even if you're doing 2 students a day, a morning shift and an afternoon shift, the most you can do is 5 days a week. That's out in the community, and that is not going to include your 14 to 16-year-old discovery, right? You haven't added that in. And then that leads us to the 20 to 22. This is going to be a very hot topic. They are saying that it is up to the school districts. Up to the school districts to have them paid employment prior to exit. Paid employment prior to exit.
Huge.
Yeah. So that it is not impossible, but it absolutely takes time. In the perfect world, and you have a student from the age of 14 to 20, and we're doing all of these things, and we're doing them correctly, it's not as far-fetched as it seems right this second. They are not held to 20 hours, 40 hours a week. You can absolutely customize. It can be 4 to 6 hours a week, but it has to be paid employment by the employer. So many times people would have used ORS, right, because they provide paid internships and things like that, and they would count that. That is great for them to experience during that 17 to 19, but that is not employment. And now, if they do get a job, before they exit, we have to provide the job coaching. So you can see how it kind of builds and builds. It's amazing, it's wonderful. With the, I'm here part-time, yep, I'm here about 10 hours a week. They're fantastic. Brad gave us a person. It's starting, but it can absolutely.
So just to put things in context, Nicole came on the same year I did, so two and a quarter years ago. The person who held her position for the Northwest, I think was there sometime, was servicing 10 kids or like 9 kids.
Yeah.
In the region.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the bar of getting like 10 kids out in the region. Now,
And she didn't do the IEP 504.
Right.
Which, again, that's coming. We're ahead of the game. So in a lot of districts, the case managers will invite ORS to the table. Me and the ORS counselor go to every single IEP and offer it to every single kid. So that's why we see such large numbers.
So I guess,
No way my voice is going.
so I guess can we loop it around to I guess what the ask is for this?
so the ask is for the position itself.
It would be strictly for the school, or it'd be,
for this school.
okay.
And we'll get into I think the last slide.
There's more.
And just, again, the one thing I want to point out, because I don't want you to miss the fact that, like, again, with special education, I get overseen by the department at RIDE. This, again, if you caught on to what we've been saying in these slides, Department of Justice. So again, this is a civil rights piece. So this is a different governing body that is monitoring this, which, there's a difference between the two.
So because this is basically a mandated situation coming down, it sounds like from the federal level or the state level, whatever, what dollars are coming to us from those agencies?
The Department of Justice, we were in a consent decree for 10 years. After that 10 years, they said, okay, we've made these suggestions, and in 2023, they became law. So that's why we have a court monitor, that's why we have Teresa Carter, that's why they're constantly asking for data. So I will have to send her samples of our CDPs from different age groups. I have to give her how many students have gone out, how many days. Obviously, we have not been able to get to that 120, but we have progress.
As far as the money, though, the money that follows hasn't been anything.
Well, it sounds like we need to get our state legislators involved to give us some help. I mean, seriously, I think that, I'm coming off the committee in one more month, but I would suggest to my fellow companions here that I think we need to reach out to state legislatures like ASAP to get support for this, because this is going to be huge.
Nicole's relationship with their counterpart at the Office of Rehab Services, who, again, attends all the IEP meetings, they have quite a bit of money, and Nicole has been able to access a lot of that, and they have been helping from everything from, like, buying, if kids go out to a job and need like a piece of clothing, article of clothing or something like that. Like helping.
Non-slip shoes for a restaurant. Yeah.
As far as paying for, this isn't in my other district, for half of a transition academy. What other examples?
So every service that we talked about for those more resource IEP 504 kids, the job explorations and the paid internships, ORS is paying a vendor to do that for us. So on the first slide, it's more than that, but it was about, in the last 2 years, sans this year, because I don't have all the data, I would have put that for you, towards you guys, because I'm not 100%, but we accessed $150,000 of ORS money to give our students those services. So summer work experiences. They go out and tour CCRI's disability service, so they get a one-on-one individual. Parents are invited if needed, where they're not just touring CCRI and the application process, they're accessing disability services, they're taking them to Access, TRIO, which is more of that tutoring. They're showing them the whole thing. They're doing that at RIC, URI. So there are a lot of paid outside services that are happening.
So as far as like funding this position, there wouldn't be anything, but as far as the kids being able to access funds, there's been actually quite a bit that they've had available to them.
Can I just add too, but I think that connection through ORS for us the past probably 2 years, the reason we're seeing that number is because of Nicole's correlation in relationship with our ORS counselor. It's not just coming in once a month and just getting updates on kids. Nicole's weekly, almost even daily in contact with our state rep through ORS, and that's why we're seeing all these wonderful resources coming to our kids, because she's explaining, we're in the middle of Foster-Glocester, we don't have transportation, the family needs supports, so she's building that rapport with both our ORS counselor and the family, the amount of time she's kind of developing with them, which is therefore helping us financially in the sense of getting through this program. So I think it's a testament to like her relationship with ORS counselors, because prior to Nicole, we didn't have that.
I was with the other directors around the state last Friday, and a lot of directors didn't even know who the ORS counselor was. And I actually said I met with mine 5 different times today. I was in 5 meetings when my ORS counselor was there. And again, I think that's kudos to Nicole.
That's awesome. Can I ask a question? So just a clarifying question. Are you saying that you offer your services to every child in our district with an IEP or a 504, and they can either accept or decline your service?
Correct.
What are the implications for not providing the services to the district? I'm just curious. This is just for me to have a full understanding.
That would be the information, and there will be probably districts that don't, just because of the capacity issue. Again, the implications really, other than the court monitor, getting that information, is the impact on the student. And then the student not having that available to them. I mean, I wish you could come into a meeting that we've had, and how different our meetings are than they were 2 years ago in special education. And Nicole gets on, and Emily from ORS gets on, and gives their spiel about what they're doing. The parents are like beyond excited. It's like, wait, what? And then knowing that there's going to be a handhold when they leave here and go into the workforce or go into a college, that they'll still have access. And then, like, again, I'm still learning stuff. Like even the other day, a parent was like, yeah, but she might be going to college out of state. And Nicole's like, that's all right. Like, they still have access to that. That ORS will still continue to work with them. And depending on the disability, it could be for the rest of their lives.
And I think the biggest part here for you to consider is the CDP is required, and it starts when kids enter high school, and often before, right? We start the conversations at the middle school. These requirements for the paperwork and the experiences have to be done, and our current staff right now, if they have to do this, they're not servicing kids. They're pulled out of the classroom. They're not able to do their jobs and coordinate all of this. So that's why it was a transition coordinator. It's the coordination of everything and following the students and ensuring the paperwork is there and ensuring the families get what they, and ensuring everything for this career development plan is in place. So Nicole sits in that position right now, and we have her part-time because she's hired through Northwest Special Ed. My ask and my reason for putting it on the agenda and having this team who has been doing this for a little over, I think we met last May, right, and said, what are we going to do to manage the CDPs as they come? And you've done a phenomenal job. The entire special ed department has done a phenomenal job really working with the families as well. However, my ask is that you consider giving me the ability to post transition coordinator, specialist, transition coordinator. That's what we need. And hire our own here, because the hours that we have right now of a part-time person is not enough for this to be completed.
So it's just taking the part-time position we already have and making it full-time?
Correct. But I wanted you to understand where this comes from. It's not just give us a position that we may or may not need. We need this position. For our students, I mean, compliance, yes, but for our kids to start and develop their careers early on, and like you said, Nicole, if it starts early on and we realize what this looks like and we get in where we need to be, then the journey may be a little rocky, but the end result can be super powerful.
That'd be amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
I ask you, if you know anybody in the community who has a son or daughter who has a 504 plan or an IP, ask them, like, have you noticed this? I guarantee you'll get feedback from them of saying that, yeah, in fact, there was somebody, and they'll probably be pretty excited about it.
And if I could add just one welcome, Heather, good to see you tonight. But I said, listening to you speak earlier about your college applications and working with the students and working with the families, it's almost like this is our version, right? These are our students, our families, their futures. So what we can do at age 14, when their career development plan starts at that discovery phase, that's our goal. So when they exit at 20, how wonderful we can stand here and highlight the 20-year-olds who are employed, because of the work Foster-Glocester put through, because of their best practices with their career development. So I feel like we can do that.
We have
the support.
We have a student who, particularly is in my class, that never thought would possibly have an employee, be able to be employed with a position. He is doing, Nicole and our transition team have found him a great place that, fingers crossed, we're really hoping might work by the end of this year. And he could potentially be one of our first 20+ students to have a paid position, and he's thriving. And it's only with the work and the effort that we all put together to kind of figure that out and support. So.
And we can make excited to see pictures.
Yeah, we do.
And the families look at those, and we're really proud of them.
The family, really having somebody to.
Yeah, does anybody have any other questions for them? I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. We do so much for all of our students. We need to make sure that they're our number one priority. Do I have a motion?
I just didn't realize that 504 kids were.
I make a motion to post the position of full-time transition coordinator specialist.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I don't know what's
All in favor?
Renee, I just
Aye.
have one question. Is it in your budget? It is. Okay. I always have to ask that question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll make this quick. I just want to say one thing. I taught at
That
Career and
was
Tech for
Amy.
10 years
And who seconded that? Beth?
in Warwick, and all of my students went out on internships. And I was just the only person who did it. And I can tell you the amount of time that it takes to make all those phone calls and follow up every day and make sure they're there and make sure they're getting, and transportation, and and insurance, that they have car insurance. It goes on and on. It's endless, but the work that you're going to do for the special needs students, anybody who knows, it's long overdue. So good work.
Thank you so much for the great
Thank you.
presentation, and I appreciate all your hard work and everything you've done, and now hopefully it becomes a more manageable job.
Thank you very much for your time.
Number 10 is principal's update. We have in our packets both the middle, no, is this middle school? Yep. And we've been getting the newsletters, right? Have you gotten them?
I get them.
Oh, that's right. Yep,
Yes.
you got them. Does anybody have any questions?
Both principals here, I don't know if you, I think the middle school was listed first. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's anything you wanted to add, Pat, if not, are there any questions about it? You're here, did you want to highlight anything from your report?
Just mention that, we meet here in September, I want to report, talk about our strong opening, having grade 6 on Monday, and we just addressed the month
Yeah.
of September and built upon that, especially with our core period and the vision of the student. We're moving into November. September, beginning of the year focused on them as a citizen and a learner, and now we're moving into the next 2 pieces of them, becoming thinkers and communicators. The big thing this year, I think the biggest thing with our assembly this year, which is always a great thing, and I want to thank Mrs. Keeling for her support, but this year, the students, we asked the students to decide on team names, so it's not just a little orange green, they have their own identities this year, so that's something that they decided on.
Thank you.
For this,
Thank you.
Pat.
Aaron?
I just want to say thank you to both of the principals. I'm very happy to see the orange Oompa Loompas. I'm guessing that's from Mrs. Leary, from what I can recall. I remember that even when I was there. And number 2, Amanda, I want to say thank you. I see that Battle of the Classes will hopefully be coming back.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a minute to speak about that.
Oh, of course.
Because I do want to update everybody. I have a couple of new things that I just want to make everybody aware of. So the first, I will speak to Battle of the Classes. I know that's a hot topic. But the first thing I do want to highlight is one of the things we have really been in need of in this district is a new teacher mentor program. And so I really spent some time this summer developing one, as we are finding that it is difficult to find teachers when we have open positions. I think we need to do everything we can to retain our new teachers. And so I put together a new teacher mentor program where the teachers that are onboarded get a tour of the building, introduction to the faculty, a personal presentation on the evaluation system, on all of our technology, safety protocols, classroom management, and instructional strategies. And then this is the really nice piece. I've been working in tandem with our union president, Mary Keeble, and each month we send out a Google form to all of our new faculty to make sure that they're feeling supported, see what needs they have, and then she and I work together to address those needs. I think this is going to be really key to making sure that we're keeping and retaining excellent teachers in our district. The second piece is school culture. We did have our bullying prevention presentation with our ninth graders. We had an excellent Spirit Week. I want to give a shout out to our class advisors. They did an awesome job with Spirit Week, pep rally, homecoming. Student behavior was excellent. The students here made me so proud. They had a great time and they were all very well behaved. I am working with our student council advisor on a revised battle of the classes. We are looking at the activities, making sure that they're safe, and we are going to put it into our personalization period so that it's inclusive of all students. As we've seen an increase in our out-of-district students, sometimes it's tough for those kids to get a ride back to participate in these fun events. So we are designating a personalization period so that everybody in the school can attend. So I'm working with Rob Martin on that. Two other things I want to highlight. We started a Student of the Month program that is specifically tied to our vision of a graduate. Actually, the winner is right there. Paige Reynolds was our first winner. She happens to be here for cell tower request as well, but she was our September winner. The Student of the Month receives a spotlight in my newsletter, a positive call home. So I did call her mom, gave her a positive shout out. She was highlighted on our morning announcements. She got a picture with me, which, you know, what's cooler than that, with a certificate and a Dunkin' Donuts card. And she just exemplifies our vision of a graduate. So each month I will be doing that. And then lastly, our academics. I've been working on question techniques and checks for understanding techniques with our faculty. We are doing a faculty book study. We're reading Teach Like a Champion. Each month we're reading a chapter, and then we work collaboratively on a Google Doc to have a book discussion. And then our literacy practices are directly tied to that book, so all of our work is tied together. And then lastly, our professional development day. We are having a 6 through 12 literacy day where our literacy specialists at the middle school and our literacy specialist at the high school and myself are presenting to the faculty on active reading and vocabulary across all content areas. So it will be specific to mathematics, it will be specific to social studies. Each content area will be able to walk away and implement the strategies in their classrooms. So that's my update. Thank you.
So when you say a safer battle of the classes, is that to assume there's like no more tug of war or like Jello wrestling?
We're replacing some of the contact sports that cause some injury, but they're still fun, spirited activities that are coming your way.
That's too bad.
Safe ones.
Amanda, I would just ask if you don't mind, if you want to invite the school committee, I would love to attend that.
Oh, sure.
If that, you know, whenever that happens, because I would definitely try to get the day off of work anyway in order to make sure I come in.
I make note of that.
They're also collecting canned goods if students want to, right? If they're participating in a second event?
Yes,
Yeah.
if they would like to participate in an event, they can bring a canned good for a ticket to participate. However, if they're experiencing any sort of hardship or whatnot, they can come and see me. That won't be a barrier, but we are hoping to collect for the Gloucester Food Pantry.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, both of you, for what you included. I appreciate it. Approval of cell tower funds. Ready, Paige?
So just click on arrows. Oh. All right. Good evening. So to talk about the cell tower funding, our goal is to start funding a new project that I came up with, along with my advisor, Mr. Rotundo, in order to make it my senior passion project. So to get started, quick introduction first. So, for those that don't know me, my name is Paige Reynolds, and I am a senior at PHS. I'm part of the Animal Science CTE pathway here as an out-of-district student. I'm also the chapter and state FFA president. For those that don't know what FFA is, it's a youth program for agricultural and leadership skill development for students.
Future Farmers of America.
Technically, yes. We did get rid of the acronym, but essentially that is what we are. Last week, I actually just came back from competing at our FFA National Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm a veterinary science competitor, which also follows along with the animal science CTE pathway. So that's that. All right, now to get into my actual project. So my project is called Meals of Hope. It's like a nationally recognized project. However, we've never done this specific project at the school, which is what I'm trying to do as my senior passion project. So for those that may not know, although I'm sure most of you do know, food insecurity is a global and local problem. And just a couple statistics for you. 13.5% of US households experience some kind of food insecurity. So I mean, we experience sites of poverty almost every day, like no matter where you live, there's always people that may need more assistance than others and have food insecurity. And we do focus a lot on the global aspect of food insecurity. However, I believe that we need to start focusing more on the local issues with food insecurity. So 29% of Rhode Islanders themselves experience food insecurity. And although we do have programs like for free meals at school, how much does that really go? So another goal I have is to bring Meals of Hope to the school. So this would be my senior passion project and supervised agricultural experience, SAEs, there's another acronym for you. So what this project would specifically do for those that aren't familiar, it would be purchasing and packaging meals to deliver to community members in need that are experiencing food insecurity. So that 29% of people that are experiencing food insecurity in the state, this would be helping them. And it would be a school-wide packaging event, which means that like everyone that participates in the event, which would take place more in the spring semester, since it does take a lot of time to plan and to get the funds, which we will get into later. Like all students that participate, like we would go into the gymnasium or the aux gym most likely, and we'll have tables set up, and there will be different kinds of meals that they would package together, and over a course of like 2-3 hours maybe, we would have packaged thousands of meals, which would then be sent out to the community, which we did talk to Department of Human Services, and they would be very happy to take them, and we'll probably also donate them to different churches in the area, really whoever will take them. So there are like different goals, like meal plans that we could purchase through Meals of Hope. So like we could do 10,000 meals, which would be like 3,400, or 50,000 meals for 16,000. So it's like it definitely varies. So we are trying to at least reach the 10,000, which it's still a lot of money, which is why we do need some assistance. So just to break it down, 10,000 to 25,000 meals is the starting point, which would still help the community a ton. That would be 34 cents per meal, and it would take 20 to 55 volunteers to pack all the food in about 2 hours estimated. 25,001 to 50,000 meals, it would be 33 cents per meal, and that would be 55 to 100 volunteers to pack in 2 hours. And then if we were able to raise enough money to do 50,001 or more meals, that would be 32 cents per meal. And that would take about 100 to 120 volunteers to pack in 2 hours, which is why we're really trying to push for it to be a school-wide packaging event, just because we would love to be able to reach the maximum amount of meals we can do and make it so everyone is getting work-based learning hours, helping the community, and just creating like a new tradition every year with this project. And then just a note at the bottom, I kept saying like that it would take 2 hours to package. We can do shorter or longer packaging times if needed, because considering how many meals are being packaged, 2 hours really doesn't seem like a whole lot. which is probably why they have like different numbers of volunteers. But if it does take a little bit longer, which there is a chance it might, like Meals of Hope allows us to have longer packaging times. So now to talk about the actual funding for the project. So what we do need like at least like the 3,200 in order to do our minimum goal. And we are in understanding that Cell Tower Company limits funding to 10,000 per semester, like donating to projects, if I'm not mistaken. So what we had requested in our Cell Tower request form to match funds at $4,000. So that way, like, you can still donate to other projects if need be. Of course, if you were willing to donate more to us, the more the merrier, because then that way we can make it more of a school-wide packaging event, have more volunteers, donate more meals, because this is a really good project in order to fight that food insecurity in the state. So we did recently also try to do a clam bake, because you might be wondering, oh, well, what other ways are you going to fund, or how have you tried to fund before? There was a clam bake event that we had originally tried to host along with our teacher here, Mr. Stanley. However, we unfortunately were not able to sell enough tickets no matter how hard we tried. So unfortunately, we had to cancel the event and refund everyone. So this would hopefully be another way that we can really try to push for the funding, since like we have been struggling a bit in regards to the actual funding. However, there are also other ways that we are planning to fundraise. A few ways we can do that is through grants, which we can apply through the National FFA organization along with elsewhere, maybe local grants. And we are thinking about, instead of doing a clam bake, which is a lot more work, is a lot more expensive, and some people are also like not wanting to eat seafood as much, we were thinking about doing a pasta dinner, because it's a lot easier to cook, a lot less money on us and for other people to attend, and also it's something that I feel like everyone would enjoy. So we definitely feel like it would be a lot easier to raise money through doing that, and fun would be had by more people. So the goal through this additional funding is to hopefully raise around $3,000, because pasta dinners, although they are still a lot of work, they do raise a lot of money after the cost if you have enough participation. So that's the goal. However, we are hoping that cell tower funding would be able to fund a decent amount of the project. So in order to have the project and have the money ready for it, we would need any funds received by January, this upcoming January 2025, because we were hoping to have the event, the actual event, in the March of 2025. So in order to actually turn the money in and order all of the meals off of Meals of Hope and have it come in on time and do all the planning, make the announcements, we would probably need like a couple months or so. So that's why we were trying to push to get the money in no later than January.
Paige, can I just ask you a question, please?
Yes.
You keep saying we. This is your individual senior passion project, correct?
Yes.
Or are you doing this as a group?
So it is my individual senior passion
Okay,
project.
thank you.
I say we just because Mr. Rotundo is my advisor,
okay.
and he
But
has been
it's your individual
helping.
senior-
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. I'm
Thank
not
you for that.
collaborating with anyone. Mr. Rotundo is just guiding.
Rested on the help of her fellow officers from her officer team and FFA members who maybe help organize the event and be team leaders at different stations within the event itself. So the we that I think also comes from that too, right, Paige?
Mhm.
That matters.
Thank you.
Yes, so they would be helping out when it comes time for the actual event, but they aren't like co-leaders with the project, if that makes sense. But they would indeed be helping, because we are hoping for FFA, or chapter FFA, to kind of help run the event, although everyone can participate whether they're in FFA or not. All right, and then just a couple quick quotes before we get into any questions that you may have. I just thought that these were nice. And like talking about food insecurity. So there was a quote by Virginia Woolf that says, "One cannot think well, love well, sleep well, if one has not dined well." So I just thought that's something that I needed to say, because with food insecurity, we don't always think about it unless we are actively doing food drives or any other fundraisers such as this one. And we just have to understand, like, these are real people that are in our community and they need help. So that is the goal of my project, to give them that help. And another reason, one of the many reasons that I want to do this project is because as a member of the FFA, we have a motto, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, because that is what FFA is all about. And I want to reinstate the fact that that is what we are made of and spread that with everyone else and just show people what FFA is truly about. That was actually a picture on the screen. Last week, we did a National Days of Service at the FFA National Convention in Indianapolis. Not food related, but it just shows that we do a lot of community service. We helped clean up a park in Indianapolis that had been kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Overgrown. Yeah, definitely needed some cleaning up, and we did that in like a lot of volunteer hours doing that. And we weren't the only group. That was like a national thing that everyone was doing. They were taking care of different things. Our focus was the park, but there were people like repainting buildings and fences and like so many different things. And they do that every year. So that's why I just think that FFA is so important, because it just really shows what community service can do. And if we can do this at a national level, I most definitely think we can do this at a community level and really just help the local people that need us. Right, any questions?
Beth? First of all, I love your kind and giving heart.
Thank you.
I do have a question, because cell tower funds are matching funds. How much have you raised to date, so far?
So we have not met our goals. We would have raised like a few hundred at least from a few thousand.
Unfortunately, a couple of things that happened, but one was just not selling tickets yet.
Yeah, so unfortunately, because of the clam bake, we weren't able to sell the tickets. It would have been like a few thousand, as Mr. Thomas said.
We would just like to hit the minimum range, right?
And then, yeah, and if,
go from there. So we do plan to do some fundraising. We do plan to apply for grants through National FFA, as Paige had said. Pasta dinner is one, probably not $2,000. Pasta dinners don't raise that much money, but reaching a goal of like $1,000 for some raffle baskets would be a start, and then going from there. But we already were on the docket, and we should have already completed the clam bake and had money. Like I said, though, we didn't quite. We wanted to hit at least 100 people for that event. We were planning for a max of 250, and we had about 50 sold. So we would have been hard pressed to definitely come up with 100 by the clam bake itself. And fortunately, unfortunately, the event got canceled. Mr. Stanley had a medical emergency with a family member, so it all kind of worked out.
So, but you are planning the pasta dinner and other things, correct?
yes, so we haven't exactly started that process yet. We're taking it one step at a time, but we have at least discussed, Mr. Tondo and I have discussed plans about how we are going to go about that, who we're going to talk to, what kind of events we would have at the pasta dinner, like the raffle baskets, as he had said. So like the plan isn't quite in motion yet, but we are in the planning process, like actively planning.
So I mean, once you've raised those funds, I think we would love to, approve cell tower funds to match whatever you raise. I think would be awesome.
I don't mean to rain on your parade, and I applaud the work and the generosity that you want to put in, but my sense is setting a precedent or starting something where we start giving cell tower funds to an individual student who's doing their passion project. I don't think we've ever done that we've used cell phone towers dollars in that way. So, you're one individual person who, this is your senior project, so to speak. And I don't know how we would handle that, as if it's kind of opening up the barn doors to what else that's just my thought. So Beth, with all due respect, I disagree. I'm sorry.
Yes, Brendan.
Sure. I just wanted to piggyback. I thought it was an incredible presentation. I commend you for the hard work. And perhaps to kind of balance what Pat's saying there is, if you do return to us, and I hope you do, and I hope you come back and say, I've been wildly successful fundraising, but I need a little bit more. I think you need to repackage this as an FFA project, which incorporates a lot of that, group, a specific number of students that will be impacted as part of that learning experience, which is also your senior project, and then present it to us, because part of what we're tasked with as a committee here is to conform with our cell tower funds policy. And that's to kind of fund these learning experiences for large groups of students. So if you come back and present it in that way to us and say, I'm engaging 15 students for what we hope will be an annual event to serve the community at large, I think you'll find a lot more favor in being able to support it. I know I certainly would do, and I would also say on a personal level, don't hesitate to solicit funds from this group as you look for donations too, because I do think it's a great effort that you're looking to do. So that's just my 2 cents. I think that there's something there. We just need to kind of fit it into the policy, do a little fundraising first, and then incorporate it into more of a club activity, which is also your passion project.
All right.
That's why I the first question was the word "we" and who did it encompass? Because
So I mean,
we're we only have so much money, and we're tasked with how we give it out, and so.
Yeah, so when I say, although it is an individual senior passion project, as Mr. Tuno and I were saying, it would be the FFA that is running it. So although I say it's my individual project, it is incorporating other people as well. It's not only my project, if that makes sense, especially since it would, I'd want it to be a school-wide event, because this could also help students earn work-based learning hours, which helps them graduate, and to be able to say that they were a participant in such a community service event, that would also help them possibly with college applications, job applications, because it just shows that they're giving back to the community in bigger ways compared to the normal ways to do community service. And also because this is a project that I'm hoping to leave my legacy on, if that makes sense. So we have a playbook that we started and a spreadsheet with all of the hours and different things that we have done in order to try to accomplish this goal of having the project run. But by doing the playbook, we are hoping to have kind of like a list and show how to do the project every year, because I want this to be a yearly project. So even after I graduate, I really hope to see that other students are able to participate in this every year, because then we can keep giving back to the community and helping to prevent or at least reduce the impact of food insecurity in the community. So although I say it's an individual project, I'm hoping to leave a lasting impact for years to come.
Aaron?
So just a couple of questions. First, I want to say thank you again for your presentation. Number one, in terms of whatever funding, when is the deadline, we'll say, for, you said it's what, $3,400 for 10,000 meals, correct?
Yes, so that would be the minimum.
Okay. When is the deadline? Because because I agree with Brendan of where if we try to maybe reorganize or say, again, not saying no, but maybe delaying it a little bit in terms of again, we have a meeting in December, a meeting in January. So I'm definitely thinking that if we were to reorganize it, try to come up with other ideas, because another question I have is the FFA grants. One, how much are they? Two, are you in the process of getting those now, or is that going to be, well, if I don't get the money now, is that going to be for later? Because I think that if we have that plan in place, we can then make a better judgment saying, okay, and this will also give you enough time in order to fundraise. Like if you can do a pasta dinner, say in the month of December, then say in January, come back to us. And then say in January, have this on the docket again about putting this forward to a vote. That's how I'm thinking that we should maybe do it, and then maybe reorganize, say, this cell tower funds request, if that makes any sense.
So our meeting in January would be January 7th.
Would that be enough time? Because you said you want to get it in March. Is there a deadline in terms of giving the money or whatever to Meals Up or Meals of Hope or whatever to get that food?
I don't believe there's a very specific deadline, but we had just said it would be good to have the funds sometime in January, just because it's probably going to take a couple months in order to finalize all the plans for the actual meal packaging event, and because I don't exactly know where Meals of Hope is based, but
I think we should wrap it up and we'll come back in January.
yeah.
And re-present to the committee.
Because then that way it also gives you enough time in order to fundraise, it gives you time to actually apply for those grants. So there's a lot more that will put us out. And I would also suggest, just going off of what Brendan said as well, about maybe reorganizing, like, I understand that but the way that the cell tower funds request is presented to us, it says raising funds for a passion project. Again, like,
So
if it was, say, as an
here's-
FFA project or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Here's what I'm going to ask, so that we can wrap this up for you. Amazing.
Thank you.
We need to find a way to make it happen. You need to find a way to make it happen, and that's by, one, pulling people in. So organize your groups. It's going to affect this many people from them volunteering, this many people helped write grants, this many people helped organize the pasta dinner. Like you said, your playbook, so that it can go forward. And also, it's a matching fund, so you need to come to us and say, listen, we've got this much in grants, we have this much from our pasta dinner, are you able to match it? So if you could come back to us with those things, I feel like you have a lot of support, because we're so super proud of you and excited with your ideas, so.
Can I just add, just for some feedback from a parent and maybe just an idea to throw it out here? Because if you're trying to plan something in December with the holidays, I'm thinking like maybe bring something like a Santa, like a spaghetti dinner with Santa or something, like if you really want to sell something. I'm just trying to like
The
think of an idea.
elementary schools would come
you
in
know, like
droves.
to actually get people in the door. I was looking forward to the clam bake, but I personally didn't want to spend $40 on my kid because they're going to eat like 2 bites of food. So that's just also feedback, just to try and make, the next attempt at your event more successful. I will buy tickets.
Thank you for the feedback.
The elementary schools will come.
It definitely is a good way to get more people.
You have a Santa costume, don't you?
Virginia, you could be Santa.
Just an idea.
Mrs. Rundell said she would do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
I know. I'd come. You know what? You can have my kid for this. He could be the Santa.
There you go.
I'll donate Joe.
I already look like Santa, I might as well dress up as Santa.
I'll donate Joe. You can have my kid. All right. Superintendent evaluation tool. Again.
So here we are again.
No, we're going to table that. We're tabling that until January.
Why, can I understand why it keeps coming up? When we said, wasn't my understanding our last meeting was that it would be an ongoing, constant conversation, like Renee presented.
I don't know why it keeps coming up.
Presented tonight. And if she continues to do, like last month, she gave us great information. This month, she continues to do that.
That is her evaluation.
Then by the time her evaluation is due in 3 years, she can present the stack of stuff that she's done. But there's really no tool out there. But I thought
Did you
we
wanna add to
addressed
that?
it and agreed.
Is there any reason for it to be on?
It was asked to be back on the agenda for an update, and I know that at the last meeting, it was if Aaron and I could meet and come up with, and it's not for lack of trying, we haven't, but he didn't ask for it to be back on. It was asked to be back on.
I have a comment. I think, and I'm just guessing, I think Shelley asked this to be on, and I think when we see this word, and I'm speaking for myself now, a superintendent evaluation tool, it's sort of as if we're the board of directors
and the superintendent reports to the board of directors, correct? Isn't that kind of the chain of command, the way it is? I mean, that's what a school committee is. We're like right, Greg? We're like a board of directors, and the superintendent reports to us, and then everybody else reports to the superintendent. So I think the concept is, as a committee, how do we evaluate that our superintendent is meeting all of our expectations if we never have a tool to evaluate you by? I mean, communicating communicating to us is part of the job that we need, that you're doing. I mean, so I don't want to get into the specifics. Let me just finish one sec. So I would think you would welcome a short one-page evaluation tool or a two-page like an industry has. And I think it's incumbent upon this committee's job to have something in place to say, yes, yearly or twice a year, we sit down and we evaluate our superintendent. I think it's our job to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to looking at when I first came on this committee, and we had a previous superintendent that was never evaluated. Everybody just went along, and then, oh boy, let's put him up on the wall and shoot him. I mean, you know, boy, for years it was just all of a sudden when it was all said and done, what a terrible job. But you guys never evaluated the person. So I would look at this as a positive thing and something that, now I could be all wet here, but that's my feeling. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just do want to respond, but go ahead.
Pat, I was going to say to your board of directors example, while I agree that there's a benefit to having a evaluation criteria, which we said, I thought at the last meeting we had talked about mimicking the principal, assistant principal page, which we have. But to your board of directors point, right, the board of directors meets with the CEO once a month, and what they look at is stock performance. How is the company doing? So I see in our instance, we meet once a month for school committee. We have this criteria in the background. And Renee presents to us, how is the school doing? How are our test scores, if we want to talk about stock market, right? How are our test scores comparing? And are we improving or going down?
Or what are we doing?
Are we retaining teachers? Are our students excelling? Are our students taking the AP classes? Why is it that this school is such a draw across the entire state? It's those kinds of things that prove to us that obviously our administration at all levels, from our superintendent to our principals to our teachers, are excelling. We only, as teachers, we only get observed every 3 years if we're found effective. So to do it twice a year, I think would be too much.
I said every 2 years.
Oh, I thought you said twice every year.
Every once,
I was
or
like,
maybe it's once a year, maybe it's every 2 years,
Okay, I'm
maybe it's
sorry.
every three.
I
However
misheard you.
long the contract runs, maybe before you renew, you have, I don't know.
I agree with that, especially when it comes time for her contract to be renewed.
Then you have an evaluation
But then we
tool.
have, right, but we also have a stack.
Her body of work.
Right.
Yes.
What have you done?
So you have we're observing all this stuff you're doing at every school committee meeting. But I think if we don't then put a cover on it, so to speak, which is what I think an evaluation tool would be, we're missing an opportunity. Also for her to have that as a way that we're saying to her, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You've done a good job.
Yeah.
Or conversely.
Right. I see you have your hand up. I don't know if you want me to respond or.
I was going to have Renee respond first, and then.
So I am all for evaluation with feedback. My ask last time was to have it aligned to the principals, which is aligned to the teachers. However, you're tasking me or this committee with creating a tool that is not required by law for superintendents. It's not one that exists. And so I think I still come back to the point of we can have these conversations, but the once a month meeting for you to really look at the detail of the conversations. I see what the principals are doing every day. They see what the teachers are doing every day, and you're evaluated once every 3 years if you're highly effective, once every 2 years if you're effective. My contract is up in 26. And so I'm
6 months before your contract is up, we should have a meeting.
in favor of it, of the open dialogue. However, creating a tool that is not required and is not doesn't already exist for a Rhode Island superintendent.
I think 6 months before your contract is up, we need to sit down and have a meeting and list, and you can tell us, but we should know. Here's the thing, and I'll take responsibility for not knowing what was going on behind the scenes about what you just spoke about. I will be the first to admit I was one of the ones. However,
Cindy,
to try and fix things, we have put on her the task of reporting out more.
Yeah.
And she has done that, right? She's crushing it.
Absolutely.
Her administration is crushing it. Her teachers are crushing it. The students are excelling. So I don't know what a tool could possibly show that we don't see already every single day in this building.
I don't think anyone disagrees with what you just said. I think, and this is not even necessarily me speaking for myself, but more of just trying to kind of understand what everyone's saying. I feel like people are just looking for some kind of structure and frequency, and that to me doesn't seem unreasonable. So if Renee is telling us that she's comfortable with the tool that's used for the principals and the vice.
I'm not saying comfortable with that tool.
Oh, okay.
What I'm
Okay.
saying is that if you're going to
I thought
create
that's
a
what you
tool, it
said.
should mirror
Right,
some of
mirror
that
that.
work, because that's the work that they're doing. However,
Right.
then you also, there isn't a tool created right now, my understanding, for Gloucester superintendent, nor is it a conversation, which is me, or nor is there one for Foster, which I don't even know if that's a conversation. So
Right.
I just think we have to be realistic that if it's required, we do it. If it's not required, then let's work through the changes that you've asked. I'm very comfortable updating you. I'd asked for that to be part of it before, and we are here right now where I'm able to do that. And then maybe you look and say it further down the road. I just don't want to create something that puts work on you or work on me if we're communicating and we're making progress. I think that's
One last thing. So the other side to this is, if no one else in the state of Rhode Island, as the 37 superintendents or however many there are, have that, but that process doesn't exist, then we shouldn't go there. That's the other side of it.
Aaron?
Well,
Aaron?
I think we're constantly doing it.
Yes, Aaron.
So again, the only reason, so I was the bad kid to bring it up. This was months ago. The reason why is because of the fact that, if I recall correctly, in every one of our contracts for the superintendent, it says evaluation tool. It says evaluation, if I recall correctly. I don't know if we've ever changed that,
Doesn't say tool.
but evaluation. So that was why I brought it up. We can certainly, I agree with everything that has been said about, having that sit down. If we're already doing that, then great. But I was the one that brought it up because of the fact that in the contract, it says evaluation. And I just thought that it would be easier to have, say, something on paper, or either on paper or just out in general that says, look, either meet stamp or whatever like that. That way we can put, like, say, the community members in just community to rest, saying, look, we have full faith in the superintendent or whatever, just so that we can back her up as well. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason why I brought it up. I certainly, if we decide to, again, if we're the only district in the state, again, I actually heard about this because when I was actually at work, a former school committee member actually said, oh, do you guys have a superintendent evaluation tool? I believe this is Bristol Warren. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. And that's when I brought it up. So that's the only reason why I even brought it up in general. But again, if we're the only one in the state doing it, then there's no point about, creating the horse or whatever like that, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? So we can certainly take a step back, not do it.
I think we need to do something, though. We need to either pull it
again,
off the
it's-
agenda. I can't keep looking at it on the agenda. We had this same exact conversation
So then I make a
last
motion to
month.
remove it from the agenda.
But I don't think you can, because I think it was Shelley's, like you said.
Yeah.
But I just think at some point, we have to stop putting it on and having the exact same conversation every month.
Cindy, can we make a vote to set that we'll do an evaluation 6 months
6
prior?
months prior to our.
And currently, we'll work off of the principal thing for now.
So moved.
Superintendent's report, like,
Yeah, but I was saying if we need a guidance, we have the principal, whatever.
We don't need any formal guidance. We're going to readdress this 6 months before our contract is up.
We'll put it in stone now.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's a great idea, Mark. And, let's look at it the other way. We're blessed right now that we have, a great superintendent. everything's going hunky-dory, right? In
Yeah.
administration. What if that wasn't the situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Then we'd be
And that's
kicking
where we
ourselves
were
that we didn't
before,
have one.
Greg?
Just, if you have an issue, I hesitate to jump in because I think you're getting to the right point, which is, because I'm hearing from a bunch of you that you really don't want to go through this. Somehow you got yourselves into this process, and you don't know how to get yourself out of it. And whether it's because you think your contract requires it, which it clearly doesn't, and even if it did, both of your parties can waive it. So if you don't want it and the superintendent doesn't want it, don't do it. If you want to do something informal, that's what every district in the state has done since I can remember. And if you have a problem with your superintendent, she could have a perfect A1 evaluation last month. You find out she has a problem, you could decide you're going to change your mind. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the form is
Doesn't lend
useless.
itself to the issue
Especially
she's
at
having.
this level. We're not talking about a principal doing an evaluation of a second-year teacher, whether they're going to get tenure.
Yeah.
You're in a completely different format here. So if a majority of you do not want to do the superintendent evaluation, just vote that and worry about the 6 months and the
Thank you.
6 months.
Thank you.
Don't do both. Just stop it if the majority of you don't want to do it anymore.
So
So we need a motion.
to just remove this item
A motion to not have a superintendent evaluation tool
At this time.
Before we do that, we do have a superintendent policy that says that we're supposed to evaluate our superintendent.
It doesn't say we need a tool.
It doesn't, that's right.
Okay.
And I'm not, so just to be clear,
Okay.
I'm just mentioning that as background, because I kind of had a larger point.
Okay.
One thing that, I think also in the same policy, it says that our superintendent is supposed to produce an annual report each year, which sort of summarizes the activities, kind of like our elevator speech of the things that are going
Yeah.
well.
I think she
that
does
we
that every
can
month,
use.
though.
She does that on a monthly, but it's supposed to be an annual report.
I started that this September, if you remember. I said it was
Yep.
our annual report of what we accomplished and what our goals are. I tied it to the strategic plan in the September meeting.
It would be good to publish that, put it on the website once a year, that sort of summarizes a lot of these monthly reports that you're
Highlights.
doing in sort of an abridged version. And it would be kind of a year-over-year thing. So we can see 24, 25, how great things are going. I would suggest to this group, as part of that exercise, whatever date we issue that, if it's September, January, I don't know. And that same meeting, we have an executive session where we have the discretion as a committee to just converse about how things are going. Not a tool per se, but a chance to kind of speak openly about the state of the district, if you will.
Makes sense to do it the same month that she releases
So we
her.
issue the report, so we get that, which is also one of the policies that we need to conform with. And that also gives us a chance to kind of speak to things that we might want to see get more attention, things that may need less attention, things that are going well. So in fairness to our superintendent, she can hear from us on an interim basis, what's going well, what's not going well, has a chance to weigh in on us, what we can do better, what we can't do better too. So I think we're getting hung up on the whole tool concept. I think having an opportunity to speak on a regular basis about how things are going is really important, though, before things go too far in one direction or the other. And I think the annual report is a big deal, because it should be public, it should be out there. Most of the districts have one on their websites. We did a couple times, and it kind of fell away, because, that obviously there were a few years there that were tough.
COVID.
So that's my suggestion.
So are
We
you
tie those
saying
two
like a
together.
standing agenda item?
No. It's literally a document. It's like a 5-page thing, like whatever you want in there, test scores, an executive summary. It almost ties into our budget spiel, but I think the budget spiel is sort of for one audience. I think your annual report is to a lot of a bigger crowd. You're going to speak to educational pieces. You're going to speak to extracurricular pieces. You'll speak to our transition coordinator, whatever it is. It's a chance to highlight what's been going on in a year. Some should be a recurring thing. Other things should be new things. Other stuff, maybe they go away. But I think those two pieces tie together. It's a really good symbiotic relationship. You're summarizing things. We get a chance to review it. We get a chance to talk to you, hear from you. And it's not a tool per se, but there's a process, and it's healthy.
I think you just put it in perspective.
I will so move what Brendan just said.
That's why I just tapped
I don't
her.
think you have
said,
to. I think
"Put this in."
we just have to do what our policy says.
So
And we're
I
already
think that's
doing it.
great. I need to put this to bed because I can't see it on the agenda again. I'm going to make a motion that we get rid of the idea of a superintendent evaluation tool. End of my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, now we can move forward with however we want to do it. Technology update. Can't stomach it one more time.
Good evening, everybody. How are we tonight? Excellent. 2-0. Dodgers.
2-0 Dodgers.
Bottom of the first. Anywho, I just... Yes.
For Dodgers.
Bottom of the first. Dodgers.
Over the Yankees.
Dodgers. Oh, yes. There you go. So anywho, the technology update today is really just... I like to come to everyone in October because October is Cybersecurity Month. So one of the things that we like to do here in the district is we like to make sure that our staff is aware of cybersecurity and the issues that can come up with that. So what we tend to do is we like to, phish our staff. And all of you have Foster-Glocester emails, and you were all phished this month. And some of you did come to me and say, hey, something's wrong. We got a weird email. You passed. Great job. Some of you clicked on the email and didn't give us any information, but
I still contacted Kyle on that one.
yes. But again, this doesn't only protect you in the school, it also teaches you to do the same thing at home. So that's something that we do that, and we actually are required to do that by our cyber insurance to test the staff, and we test the staff very frequently. We do this for the entire region as well as our other schools. So it's not just happening at the region here, we also do it in Foster as well as Gloucester. So I just wanted to come and just let you know that that's what we did. So some of you did come to me, and I did message back saying, don't worry, this is what we do. So remember, multi-factor authentication always protects you. And if you need to learn how to do that, just ask and I will show you. But that's all I really had for that. It's just a cybersecurity update. All right?
Thank you.
Any questions about that, or you guys are all good?
Yeah, can you reset my password too? Sorry.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm only kidding. So yes, I will take care of that for you guys.
I can get to it on my phone, but I can't my computer, so I don't.
It's only on my phone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Capital projects update. They're still here, these poor guys. I don't understand.
Yeah, so our capital project subcommittee met last week, earlier this week, Tuesday?
It was last Friday.
It all
Friday
blends
at 11.
together. And we reviewed some of the, our 5-year capital projects plan. One thing that I wanted to highlight as part of that conversation for this group is we discussed some strategies as we prepare our next 5-year plan to perhaps be a little bit more proactive in identifying broader descriptions for some of the projects that we wish to implement so that we can capture some emergency or unanticipated capital expenses as they come up. This was specific to some septic system upgrades and repairs that will likely come up from time to time in each of these buildings that perhaps as we reframe our next capital projects 5-year plan, we include a line item for that so that we would be more easily eligible for reimbursement. We're not in the process of updating that plan just yet, but that was just one takeaway from there. We also had some healthy conversation about what sort of retainage we should have in contracts moving forward to make sure that the district was as protected as possible to make sure that projects were completed in a timely fashion with high quality work. That's something that the administrative team will continue to pursue and we'll continue to follow up on. The item that you have in here is in regards to the boiler replacement work. As you know, that was something that we had targeted to be part of a potential grant at one point. That did not happen, so we're looking at other ways to really get our hands around what that specific project looks like. What you have in your packet is basically a fee proposal from the architect to put together drawings to replace the boiler system at the high school, and as well as the control system at the high school, so that we can essentially start the RIDE reimbursement process. This is a very important project. It is not if, but when we run into an issue with the boilers. So the opinion of that subcommittee was that this is important for us to move forward with, to basically greenlight our facilities team to engage the architect in doing this work so we keep it moving forward. We also had, they put together a packet that showed what the emergency plan would be should we have an issue with the heating system in the meantime. And it's available, I think Dr. Plaza has it if you'd like to take a look at it. So we do have a plan in place. It's financially not great news, but there is a plan, which is something that we were tasked with doing, and the team did a great job putting it together. So what you have in here is essentially the fee proposal. That's what we need to basically discuss and approve. Steve, I'm not sure if you have anything you want to add to that.
So no, so basically, I mean, ultimately, as we're all aware, the boiler plant is a concern, and this is something that will take long-term planning throughout the process of the A&E design and right approvals. So we certainly want to move forward with this A&E approval sooner than later.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the A&E fees as presented in the packet and granting the superintendent the authorization to increase up to $15,000 to include other options.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
All right, just a quick facilities update. So ultimately, the fall athletic seasons have been coming to an end. So between homecoming games, dances, senior events, putting away all necessary athletic equipment and correct storage, facilities teams have been extremely busy over the last month. Mainly at the middle school, we've been working through some retro commissioning of all the control systems of the entire building, basically trying to minimize the fuel consumption any means possible. Lots of voting accommodations have been taking place, which have consumed quite a bit of Gary and myself's time over this last month to accommodate the Board of Canvassers in this, upcoming election here on November 5th. Here at the high school, we had a couple cross-connection issues with a couple check valves that failed over in the north building. It took us a couple weeks to work through that and identify the specific check valves that failed. We had some communication issues sporadically with one of our Cox communication lines, ultimately in direct relationship to the lines and the telephone poles coming down from the storm over the summer. So that's all been identified and rectified. The fire truck, we made some improvements to get that program in a better suitable space, so to speak. So we put a parking pad out by the field house. I don't know if everybody noticed on driving in, but the fire truck is now out on the front lawn on a fully usable parking pad. So Chris Stanley was already out there fully utilizing the space. There's a couple more improvements that we're going to be working through. We as the administrative team met with John Burlingame, our school committee liaison, to discuss the potential for future collaborative efforts with the DPW, specifically mainly asphalt needs. Paving for these parking lots, if we go out and try to put this on bid for, specifically through the region, it will cost us an exponential amount of money. There is a lot of savings to be had if somehow or another we can come to an agreement with the DPW and what works for the town council, and, hopefully we can make that work with the DPW as to for some future works. And that's basically about it.
So, Steve, I would just mention too that don't hesitate to reach out to the Foster DPW too if you need to.
I actually reached out to Gordon Rogers so that the town DPW supplied the school with the process material, and I actually reached out to Gordon, and he supplied us with the process millings. So to install that pad, we only paid for the labor for spreading and compaction.
Steve, that's how the town of Gloucester paves all our roads. It's all done in-house, so to
Right,
speak, and it saves the town, millions.
Ultimately, these buildings are owned by the town, so I don't know why the town wouldn't want to, So we'll follow up on that portion of it.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions for him or anything? No?
Thank you.
Policy update, we have the wellness policy. I had spoken to Shelley, unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. She had made one request that on page 2 of 9, down at the bottom C, it was crossed off, this committee shall meet no less than 4 times during the school year. She wanted it to read a minimum of 1 meeting.
Might want to go back to that.
She said, I don't know, why, did she tell you something different?
She said to take that out and just leave, all meetings will be public and meeting dates will be posted on the district website. She didn't give a number
For the
to
health
us,
and
but-
wellness, if you could change the wording to be a minimum of 1 meeting a year. I think it's better to leave it the way it is. I think she was worried that it was going to stay a minimum of 4. Maybe just leave it like this, because it has to come up for a second reading anyway.
I'm sorry, I don't need to be long-winded, but I read this today, and I just have some questions to this policy. So if you just look at page 3, for instance, B and C, it's like, it seems kind of like pie in the sky to me. It's like, are we really doing this? Like C, it says things like, we ask our staff to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Staff will be encouraged to model healthy eating and physical activity as a valued part of their daily. I mean, come on, you can't ask your staff to do this. I think this needs to really be looked at. Greg, you're laughing like it's funny.
Well, read the statute.
I was going to say, isn't this right out of the statute?
Yeah.
It may very well be.
I mean,
No, the
come
statute is
on.
a lot smaller than.
So the reason, Pat, last meeting, the reason this was put on is because we had, they decided to decrease the number of wellness meetings, but then we
Yeah.
realized that the policy said 4. So the reason this was on was really to decrease that, so we could change the meetings. I will say on another note, though, our HR manager is very good in working with the trust, working with, and they send a lot of information out for faculty and staff to do a lot of healthy activities. So we get a lot of those monthly, so the encouragements, whether they're regulation or not, they do go out. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Anyway, I just think this thing is really long-winded, and I think some of the concepts in here are kind of funny. I don't know, not just my opinion.
Might be a good thing to throw on there, just because we do have 2 separate policies too, for the town and the region. Maybe they could be.
Looked at and made to one.
No. I'm just saying, because there are 2 separate policies, like for Gloucester, maybe we could just look at them, see which one's better, or if they could be more streamlined.
So this is a first reading anyway. With that the changes in mind, does anybody have any other changes, or do I have a motion?
I make a
Other
motion to
than-
approve the wellness policy first reading as provided in the packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to say no. I'm not going to approve it the way it is.
6-1-0. Cell tower policy.
So I was tasked with just coming up with a maximum request per student based off of previous requests. So I said that request shall not exceed $50 per student, but we have discretion to go above that. So,
Okay, can I?
I make a motion to approve the cell tower policy first reading as presented.
second.
Mark
Can we
Risbon.
discuss?
Yep.
So, it's happened a couple times now, and I didn't realize it sometimes. But on the form that Renee made, when they're asking, if we can put a line in there that says, how much money have you raised? Have Ian check it. They haven't raised what they're asking for. It doesn't come to us. Like, we should have never even seen her request, because she hasn't raised any money.
While you have been talking of other matters, I've talked to Ann. This needs to be
Looked at
reviewed
again.
before it comes before you like that. That should not have come forward to you like that.
I agree.
But we're going to address it.
All right.
Thank
Does
you.
anybody have any problem with the 50?
No,
Okay.
reasonable. So this is a first reading, so it's going to come to us again after we make some more changes. So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Rate for pay of substitutes, classified employees policy.
I make a motion to approve the rate of pay for substitute classified employees policy as a first reading as provided in the packet.
Any discussion?
I just need to give you some additional information on that. The reason I'm coming to you with the price of, with an hourly rate of $18 is it's actually been in effect since 2021, but your policy was not updated. There's an email that was sent, previous superintendent to business manager, that per the school committee policy, the rate of pay was changed for ESP substitutes. So it was changed to $18. It was changed to be reflected here, but your policy didn't change. So I don't know if it's a first and second reading or not, but it's been in effect since 2021.
Oh. Well, we'll make it official.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. Now it's adopted or official. Update on live streaming school committee meetings.
Madam Chair, before we do that, can we go back to the capital project update? There was actually a
Of course.
motion in there for the window.
I'm
project
sorry.
too that I think we skipped over. And I think it's just important that we be clear on what the committee approved as far as A&E fees.
Wait a minute, we
think it was
made,
just
we
for the
made the,
boiler.
all right, so we didn't make a motion under the
We
boiler?
We made one for the boiler project, but there's a separate project for window replacement at the high school that's also in here that I think is.
Do we need a motion?
I was under the impression that our capital project team that at this point in time we weren't.
Right.
I agree with that. So I just mentioned it because it's in our packet, it's in here, and I want to be crystal clear on what we approved to move forward with what we did. So another project that we did discuss at that capital projects subcommittee meeting was replacement of windows in the north and south building here at the high school. It is work that should be done. And there was a fee proposal put forward by the architect to basically put together drawings for that. The general sense of that group was that that's not specifically a critical path project right now. And we probably shouldn't spend that money on fees until we're confident that the project will go forward. So I just mentioned because it's in the packet.
You want to explain it?
And you might have seen it, and I don't believe that the intent of that first motion was to fund
Both.
that project.
Yeah, because they're
It was
together.
strictly for the
Yeah.
boiler project.
Okay, thank you for
And
your
I think that's
clarification.
consistent, right?
Yeah, and I think the motion was just.
I just wanted to be clear.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the boiler. Yeah.
Is everybody clear? Does anybody have any questions? Thank you for the clarification.
We do need windows, though.
All right, so now update on live streaming school committee meetings. What, did we crush it with the ratings? What?
I just checked a little bit ago. We have 2 people watch. Well, I was the second when I logged in, so there was 1 person watching.
He was the first, right there.
Is it advertised? Like, do people know?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
How is
one.
it advertised?
It's on the agenda.
Okay,
With the
but
live
that's
link.
it. Okay.
It's just like
It's the
town
only
council.
place it's advertised, though. It's not really like advertised, though.
Yeah, just the 3 places that we put the posting. What do you think, based on how much time you put into it, like,
No, there's value in keeping it because they can go back and watch it later. It's just there's no one live watching it.
except that I don't know if there's value in having to do the video aspect as
Oh,
opposed to just the audio. Audio is a lot easier. The video component, the video.
Don't, you're number 3
Now we're up to 3.
So should I add my phone to the mix and be number 4?
Here's the thing, it's a lot of time and effort that if we're the only ones watching ourselves during the meeting, then I think the audio is enough. Go ahead.
Hi,
Hi.
still 2-0. Bottom of the second.
Dodgers 2-0?
Listen.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
What is it, bottom of the second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this progressed a lot faster than anticipated, right? Says update, but we've already been doing it for 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So this is the second, right?
He's an achiever.
So I mean, I don't know that it's like a decision to be made to like stop it. Like if the only advertisement of this or, you know, is on like the agenda, because people would have to go on the town website or go on the state Secretary of State website.
Well, I mean,
we
they
have-
do that. They do that for town council. I mean,
Yeah.
We can't put a billboard up for people to watch our meeting.
Right.
We're not allowed to.
Okay.
I would say
Put billboards up.
for
Well, a neon billboard.
every year.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have-
we don't want to get started on that.
We have 12 meetings, right? Probably 10 of them, no one's going to watch. And there's
It's
going to be
this
one or two a year
two,
that
right.
people are going to be real spicy about.
Right.
They're going to want to watch it. And those are the ones that's why we have it there. I'm guessing the bulk of them will be just one or two people who really like to watch these things. Or there's going to be 1,000 views afterwards if someone drops an F-bomb in the middle of the meeting, you know? But the reality is that most of the meetings, there will not be a lot of
Kashyap is not
people
here.
watching live unless there's something that tends to be a hot button topic on there.
But let's do the math. It took you 2 hours to set up. It takes you time to take it down. We have to pay him for his
Yeah.
time. This isn't free.
I said that 3 months ago. Did we
We didn't decide yet.
Because we haven't decided if we're doing this.
Oh.
And the other part is you all have to move then for executive session, because if you don't, then he stays till 10 o'clock to take it down.
Well, I'm with Amy that I don't think we should get rid of it right away, but what I would suggest is you internally come up with what you feel would be a fair compensation for this time, present to Renee, and then Renee comes to us with the number.
When do we reevaluate?
And we have to post-pay him
Yeah, it'll be retro.
retro.
I
Yeah.
have no problem paying you out. Go ahead. Get whatever you can for this. But when do we
You're on
determine
record.
whether this is worth your time?
Since we're doing it now, we should continue to do it. I agree with the committee on that, because it's working. You know what I mean? And just like Brendan said, that people are going to go back and watch it, and especially if someone drops an F-bomb, they're going to watch it.
That's not our
But
goal.
yeah.
No, but it just remind us too that we're like, I forget specifically where that information came from, but we are one of the worst towns as far as.
That came from the ACLU.
Yes, thank you. The ACLU. I remember speaking to it in the meeting when we started talking about this, about just overall transparency in government, and we were ranked almost last. So I feel like the school district.
Recorded as well. We started recording
Right.
after that came out, so we had.
So we might have moved up a rung or two, but we're probably still closer to the bottom. I don't feel comfortable with that, but if other members of the committee, are fine with that, then
It's 2-1 now, just so you're aware.
yeah.
So let's leave it. I guess the consensus is to leave it as is for now. Let's figure out what it's going to cost, and after a year of no one watching it, maybe we'll decide to pull it. Or make it more entertaining. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Public comment. We don't need a motion, right? No. Public comment? Communications to and, oh, Walt.
Walter, the World Series is on.
Walt needs his own agenda item. Number 17 is going to be Walt.
I've just got a few questions on the funding for our capital projects. I remember when I was on a committee, it wasn't that long ago, we had over a 4 or 5 year period, the superintendent put into the budget a certain amount each year. And we eventually built that up to 3% of our budget, which is a lot of money. I'd like to know if that money is still dedicated towards, it should be, because I think our capital project is a reserve account. But I'd like to know if we still do that, if we still put 3%. And back then, we used to put 3% of the tuition in students too, of their total amount. So that added up to a lot of money that we had each year. And then, how much did we put in this year? 150, 300,000, I forgot, for capital projects or whatever. That should, if we put that in for capital projects, next year, we shouldn't have to put that in. It's already in the budget. If you want to put more in, you can, but if you don't use it for capital project, that money stays in the budget and it just goes to the general fund and it gets thrown away, because we have a lot of capital projects that we have to get done. And
Yep.
I wish we could have an update to the
Yeah,
next
there is a
meeting
law.
and see if that money is still being used as it was supposed to be used.
But well, by law, we have to put 3%. Are you talking 3%?
No, I'm not talking about maintenance. I'm talking about capital projects. The 3% is you have of maintenance.
I'd recommend against having a debate back and forth with the
Yeah,
speakers.
that-
He's making his point.
Yeah.
Renee can respond.
Come on, you take all the fun out of it, right? No, I agree with you.
Well, you said you had 3 things. That was one.
I said I had 3 things?
Didn't he? Oh, that was it? Oh,
I think that was the previous speaker.
is that
And I
all?
don't know the score of the baseball game.
2-1.
And
What did he say?
And I don't care if what the ACLU cares about, what our meetings are. That's it.
Thank you, Walt. Communications to and from school committee members. School committee members' request for future agenda items. I don't know if you guys have to stay here the entire meeting, but out of pure respect for your time, if we move you guys up do you feel like you need to sit here for the entire thing? Because I wouldn't mind moving facilities to the top of the agenda so that you don't have to sit here.
Today we do because we have a portion of executive session.
Okay.
But that would be much appreciated in the future.
Okay, so Kyle, can we bump them to the top, and then if you...
Principal?
Principals too. Anybody who has to, no, no, you just got yourself a full year of this. Open in your mouth.
Yeah, that's a
All
good
right,
idea.
that's the only, any other agenda items?
I would like to invite our athletic director to come to our next meeting and give us an update on where we are with the future of athletic fields. You know, it's like our hair was on fire several months ago that, whoa, we needed a whole, and it's kind of been crickets. So
Yeah.
I think we need to hear an update, right? I know Capital wanted, because we hired a bond attorney and all this stuff, and now we're,
Okay.
need an update. Please.
Anything else? Okay. So we're gonna, do I have a
Do I
make
need
a
to put
motion to
that in writing
convene?
to you too?
do you want it in writing, or is that good enough that she wants that on the agenda?
I'm going to put it up, yeah.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to convene to executive session to discuss and/or vote on the following matters: per Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A, privacy of student records, homeschool, per Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A, pending litigation. T. Doe versus Foster-Glocester Regional School District regarding transportation issue with school district, lifetime contract litigation, union arbitration, and per Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A, school safety.
Second.
All right, let's do you guys first. Want to do,
You good?